Hello, I'm Michele Bedin, a WordPress consultant. In this brief video, I will guide you through the European Accessibility Act, the new regulation that mandates websites be accessible. We will begin with an overview of the regulations, examine the WCAG 2.1 technical standards, and analyze practical examples for various types of disabilities. Let's get started. The European Accessibility Act is a European Union directive, specifically 2019-882, which makes website accessibility mandatory for specific categories of companies. It aims to ensure a barrier-free digital experience for all users. If your company sells products or services to consumers in the European Union, you must meet both of the following requirements to be subject to the European Accessibility Act. Have at least 10 employees or a turnover or balance sheet exceeding 2 million euros. However, please note that even if you do not meet these criteria, it is still advisable to adapt and improve your reputation. Let us now consider the deadlines and technical requirements that must be met. The urgency pertains solely to new sites that must be accessible by June 28, 2025. This means that if a site is published after this date, it must comply with the WCAG 2.1 EAA standards as soon as it is launched. For example, this includes keyboard navigation, compatibility with screen readers, and adequate contrast and readability. Existing sites, on the other hand, have until June 2030 to comply. However, if a site undergoes substantial changes before this deadline, the site owner will necessarily need to undertake compliance work. Therefore, it is advisable to commence this work as soon as possible. This is because compliance requires time. A complete audit is necessary, followed by the implementation of corrections, which can be pretty complex and laborious on WordPress and e-commerce sites. It is essential to conduct tests with real users to verify whether the work has been completed correctly, and it is also necessary to train the staff managing the site. As accessibility is not a static concept, it is not merely a regulation to be added, as with privacy and cookie policies. Still, it must be integrated into all future operations involving the insertion and updating of news, products, and more. Here is a practical example for screen reader users. Things to do include using descriptive links, ensuring that the screen reader articulates the action clearly so the user knows what to expect. Adopt semantic HTML, for example, use the H1 tag for the main title, nav for the navigation menu, labels, and so on. This way, the structure remains logical, allowing the user to navigate by landmarks. Additionally, provide keyboard navigation by setting the tab order sequentially, with a visible and clear focus. Conversely, things to avoid include using vague links such as "click here," images without descriptions, or imposing the use of a mouse, for example, by implementing drag-and-drop functionality only. Keep in mind that approximately 15% of the population utilizes assistive technology. Therefore, making life easier for everyone also enhances SEO and the overall experience. For those with visual impairments, here are some effective practices to follow. High contrast. Use black text on a white background, maintaining a contrast ratio of 21:1, which exceeds the WCAG minimum of 4.5:1. 200% zoom. The layout must remain functional up to 200% zoom without cutting off content. Triple coding. Do not rely solely on color, for example, red on green. Instead, add descriptive shapes or text to differentiate success from failure. Conversely, avoid using light gray text on a white background, as this provides a contrast ratio of only 2.2:1. Do not use a fixed layout that fails with zoom, or rely exclusively on color. Remember that approximately 285 million people worldwide suffer from visual impairment, and 8% of men are colorblind, specifically unable to distinguish between the colors red and green. Ensuring high readability is crucial. For individuals with dyslexia, it is essential to use short paragraphs, each containing a single concept. Simple, direct sentences should have ample space between lines. If possible, employ fonts such as Open Dyslexic for better readability. Support reading by activating autocomplete and spell check to minimize typing errors. Customization is crucial. Provide options to enlarge text. Avoid dense blocks of text without spaces, excessive use of all capital letters, and over-reliance on italics or bold type, as these can overload memory and hinder reading. Individuals with dyslexia read up to 40% slower. It's vital to remember that people with dyslexia possess the same intellectual capacity as others. Nonetheless, minor adjustments can make a significant difference. Motor disabilities affect approximately 25 million people in the European Union, according to Eurostat data updated to 2023. Actions to undertake: large areas. Buttons must be at least 44 pixels high, according to WCAG standards, and the clickable regions should be easily accessible. Keyboard navigation. Each field of a form and button must be accessible by pressing the tab key in a logical order with the focus visible. Compilation support. Examples such as find postcode automatically reduce physical effort. Conversely, actions to avoid: elements that are too small, less than 44 pixels, mandatory drag and drop, or forms with restricted time limits, for example, a 30-second countdown with no possibility of extension. Bear in mind that it takes up to 3 times longer to complete an action than it does for someone without motor disabilities. Any barrier can become insurmountable. Finally, those with hearing disabilities, which affect over 430 million worldwide and 16% of the population in the European Union, require subtitles for every video, comprehensive audio transcripts for webinars, and multiple contact options, including email and live chat. Consequently, one should avoid offering support solely through telephone or uploading videos without subtitles. Remember that an accessible site attracts 15% more potential users, enhances SEO, and avoids penalties. Accessibility represents an opportunity, not merely an obligation. Consider advocating for a more inclusive web from now on. The key dates to note on your calendar are 28 June 2025 for new sites, while June 2030 serves as the final deadline for existing sites. I recommend starting your accessibility planning now. We have now concluded this video. If you have any queries, consult a professional web developer. Do not leave your business's reputation in the hands of unprepared individuals. Thank you, and I wish you the best of luck with your work.